Hello. How's everybody doing? How's things? Um, Let me make sure we're actually going live. I think we are getting there. Hello. How's everybody doing? How's things? Hello to Sophie. Hello to Luca. Hello to Essentialist, and hello to Ish. At least those are the guys that I know are here. There's currently apparently 9 people watching. So, hello. How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How's everything? How has your week been? I mean, the poll is saying that 40% of you have had a pretty good, all things considered week, which is an improvement from last week, which was either meh or at least it's over, almost over. Oh no, meh has taken lead. Nice. Well, yeah, that's pretty fair. Meh is now 60%. Should have mentioned it. Hello, Michael. How you doing, man? How's things? I have to apologize if I look like I'm tired or, well, the majority of the comments that I get are people saying that I look stoned. Fair enough, I guess. But my excuse for today is one, I didn't sleep much, and two, the reason I didn't sleep much is because this eye kind of uh, exploded a bit. It's probably not the right word to say, but it's falling apart and it's quite painful while it does it. So I didn't sleep much and it's sore. Is probably the best. Sensitive is the another answer. So yeah. Hello, John. How you doing? I swear the font just changed and it's now less readable. Hello, yet another user. How you doing, man? How's things? Um, First question, best ultralight 13-inch laptop for developer work, thinking XPS 13. I feel like yes. I mean, like the for developer work, the for developer work bit is the only criterias that I can think of. There is that it has to be the highest end processor you can get essentially, and enough RAM, and then everything else, a nice display. I suppose you technically don't even actually need touch, although you want one, but fair enough. Um, those sorts of things. That you know, they're kind of extras. Um, so yeah, depends. I mean, I suppose the new whatever it is, the laptop that Linus invested in the entire company in, whatever that's called, I've forgotten it already. The one where you buy the I/O modules and you can buy it bare bones or you can buy it pre-built, that kind of thing. Um, yeah, that one seems like a decent option, but only 16 gig of RAM in the XPS 13, right? Yeah, that's kind of a limiting factor. It'd be nice to have 32. Frameworks, that's the one, isn't it? Thank you very much. I like the look of the framework, but it doesn't ship to the UK yet. Okay. I'm sure that there are a lot of drop shipping services you could use if you wanted, but I suppose that might get very expensive, so yeah. Hello to all of the people. I don't know if the stream was actually coming through for the first minute or two. So that's great. But hello everybody. How's things? Hello to well, as I said, everybody but Sophie, Essentialist, another user. Hello Thomas. How am I? I've been better. Today was kind of a bad day. Hello to Simon. Hello to Luca. Or probably, well, I know I already said that at the start, but hello. Hello to Ish. Hello to Janizek. Hello Michael. How are you guys doing? Is mining worth it? If yes, is it worth to do it on a GTX 1080? At the moment, I would say probably not. The profitability, especially on that sort of card, isn't great. AMD cards, because of their design, are generally more profitable with lower power consumption for the work that they do. so they're generally better, and then the swing of that is anything, um, kind of latest generation or generation before kind of thing. Generally, with on the Nvidia side, still generally works, but profitability is down for mining, as I understand it, and so it's yeah that. Got brain's gone. Good start. Sorry. Um, so yeah, with a 1080, I probably wouldn't right now. Um, but you can always download a program like NiceHash, set it up and run it and see um, what sort of profitability or what sort of you know revenue it's generating, and if you can measure the power consumption, you can then calculate how much it would cost in electricity versus how much it will cost in how much it will return in mining revenues, I suppose. Hello, Mr. Horizon. Do you know a good website to buy a custom gaming PC in the UK? So I suppose it kind of depends on how custom you mean, but I would be a terrible businessman if I didn't point out the company for which I'm an affiliate to, which is Overclock UK. I've had a number of their systems in over the years. I've been to their offices or their I suppose it is offices, warehouse, and build center. I know their support team. I know I've met the builders. I've watched them work, and they generally offer a pretty decent selection of systems, customizability in those systems, and that sort of thing. And to add to that, if you were to purchase one of those systems using the affiliate link that's in this video and the vast majority, if not all of my video descriptions, then I would get a kickback for you purchasing that system. Doesn't cost you any more, just gives me a little support. With that said, there are a number of other good, they're called system integrators generally, so SIs in the UK. Although, as always, every time I ever get asked this question, my mind goes completely blank. I genuinely cannot think of any, despite having worked with like a good 20 of them over the years. Cyberpower, I worked with them. I've had some of their systems in. They're alright. Do you know what? You'll have to come back to me, but yeah. Ba 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 ba. Have you seen Wolfgang Flash's ThinkPad's BIOS in the middle of a forest? Also, the framework's piqued my interest. I haven't, and it's piqued mine as well. It's a pretty cool design for sure. And I remember seeing a question about the framework laptops. Do all the framework modules basically run over USB-C? As far as I'm aware, yes. I I didn't invest $500,000 in the company or whatever, but or $250,000, whatever it was. But point is, I that is my understanding. That would also make the most sense because USB-C can pretty much always be broken out. It's quite a simple design internally to do while giving a lot of external functionality to it. And I get the feeling that the modules are as big as they are just because there will be one module they're planning on doing that actually requires all of that internal space, because all of the other ones I imagine don't actually need all of that height and depth and width that they currently include. But it would also be quite cool to be able to, like, if they offer a gaming laptop in the future, to have a double stack one you can put 2 ports in or something. That'd be kind of fun. Although that would make the laptop quite thick, so maybe not. Anyway, hello Phil, how you doing, man? How's things? Also, hello Stefani on Twitch. How you doing? I would assume the storage ones need the depth, not the height. That's right, they've got storage modules as well, don't they? I forgot that they're not just the I/O. So then in that case, quite possibly. Although it depends how tightly they're integrating those storage modules. If they're just an M.2 2230 drive, then yes, because you'll need the 2230 drive, but then also the PCB to sit that in, and then plug the drive in. Whereas if it is a custom or semi-custom solution where they can just where it is essentially a 2230 drive, but it's a 2230 drive that's hard mounted, soldered in place instead, then you might have at very least a bit more height available. But yeah, it would need an NVMe to USB converter. So that's what I mean about if it is just a 2230 drive, then it's just you have the PCB with the M.2 socket and retaining screw, but then you would assume on the other side of that PCB is the integrated circuit and the various resistors, capacitors, and inductors that you would need to convert PCIe into USB. Except actually, they're using an 1165 G7, or that they're using Intel Evo, which has Thunderbolt. So it could actually just be, it could be USB-C ports, but Thunderbolt connections. So actually, you wouldn't need any converter. It's just pretty much direct connect. It's saying my card can make $2.50 a day on ISAS with a GTX 1080. Right, so the question is then, how much power would that GTX 1080 draw? And how much do you pay for electricity? I need to buy a new monitor, preferably 1440p 27-inch. Any suggestions? My top pick for monitors, I think, is probably still the Gigabyte M27Q. That's still, from what I've tested, or as I can remember anyway, the best both quality, response time, feature set, and price of balance, if you like. So yes, that's probably it. If you want to spend a little bit less, then the Acer VG271UP, or the actually, speaking of system integrators, AWDIT, who have launched their X equals brand. That's the one with what you call it, that I helped discover the case grounding issue. It was fun. Yeah, that's, I think, 280 or so now. What's your best recommendation for 1440p ultra wide for gaming and consecration under 450? The ultra wide category isn't one that I've had too many monitors in, so I can't give you a perfectly concise, 100%. I've tested all of them, and here's the best one. The one that I have tested is an Ayama. I think it's called a G Master. It's some really long, dumb string of letters and numbers that I think ends in something like ILRQ or something. Anyway, it's a I would assume 32-inch, I think, flat IPS 1440p 144 Hz ultra wide. It's a very nice monitor. The input lag was a little bit strange when I tested it, but yes, that was that. Thomas, they did. That was the whole thing with that video was I waited until they had actually fixed them, and they sent me a fixed unit, and I was able to open it up and see that there was in fact a grounding wire that resolved that problem. Technically speaking, it really it shouldn't have had any leakage current anyway. So I never should have been able to see a spark, at all. Obviously, with the grounding wire, I wouldn't have, but with the even without the grounding wire, you still shouldn't see that. There shouldn't be any leakage current going to the case or going to Earth. So that problem in and of itself hasn't been fixed, but the grounding issue itself, the specific thing that I actually discovered, has been. All good. 2 weeks time, and I'm on holiday from work for a week. Nice, awesome. When mining power draws for card only, all my results say my 3070 will earn. I assume that's meant to be $81.40, not $8,000 a day. Because if it is, turn that thing on now. Set power to 30 cents. Takes $1 off. Real cost is about $4 a day to run the whole system. Right, fair. $8.14 a day, and it costs you $4 a day to run the whole system. Got you. Yeah. Yeah, if you have a wall meter to measure power while it's mining or setting up to mine, that will be useful for generating that calculation, assuming your system would be otherwise off during that time. Recently bought an MSI laptop that keeps blue screening. I feel like I tried over 20 fixes, nothing works, but upgrading to Windows 11, promising 99% crash-free experience, fixed my laptop. Well, so first of all, if the laptop is, if you've recently bought it, that would certainly qualify for returning the laptop to get it fixed, especially. It depends what's causing it. If it's something that you've installed some things and royally messed it up, then that's a different story to it's just randomly blue screening with no input or with no changes on your behalf. So the what you call it? If it is something that is more random than your fault, then that could potentially indicate a hardware failure, which would require the board being, or the laptop being repaired or replaced. I would make sure that you back up any data you have on it, for sure. But yeah, as long as it's not something that you've tried to install the wrong drivers or something, then yeah, that would be something that I would speak to support about. Are you a football fan or viewer? I'm afraid I'm not. The only sport that I really watch with any regularity is F1, basically. Yeah, that's me, I'm afraid. I don't know if it came through at the start, but one of the reasons today hasn't been fantastic is my right eye is falling apart, as they both do occasionally, and it's kind of sensitive and painful, which is why I may be kind of looking more tired, or depending on who you ask, stoned. Yeah, the topic of it's crash free, one is a very bold claim from Microsoft, and two, that still doesn't account for hardware failures. That still doesn't account for, your CPU, or memory or graphics card failing on you, providing incorrect data, and your system freaking out. So, yeah. Just admit you smoked. No, I really don't. What you call it? What you call it? The I'm already on math. I don't need anything else. I know PS technically when I need them. You don't look tired, but it seems like you have a headache. I do actually have a headache, but it's mostly the eye, which bright light, not great for a sensitive eye. When will Windows 10 be 9.9% crash free? Are they changing it to? Yeah. Don't ask. How can I know how much electricity it takes? So if you have a little wall meter that you can that you plug the meter into the wall, then you plug your PC into the meter, and it has a little display that tells you how much power it's drawing. If you don't have one of those, then a program like Hardware Info, HW Info, will often be able to calculate. That's it. A wall meter like a kilowatt. That's the brand name version. But a program like Hardware Info or HW Info is should be able to capture the GPU power that it's using, and you can get a rough idea. But the wall meter is more accurate because that is all of the power that your system is using, rather than just the calculated power, the calculated DC power that your graphics card is using, because your power supply isn't 100% efficient, and so there is power supply conversion losses going from AC from the wall to DC, but you get charged for that AC, so yeah. Dear me. Andy, I don't know if you remember, but I solved my issue with my 9600K build. Mostly dead motherboard. Gotcha. I've had a lot of weird issues with motherboards. I mean, it is the heart of the system because, well, everything plugs into it. But yeah, I've had some really weird, you would never imagine it to be the motherboard itself, and yet it was, issues. So I think that's probably something that's worth perhaps presenting as a possible solution a little bit sooner in our minds, when those sorts of issues happen, because yeah, the number of weird bugs is too many. Hello, John. How you doing? How's things? You're late, but you're not. You're only a third late rather than 3/3 late. That's better. Yeah, motherboard was semi-dead, but it was causing issues that made me believe the CPU was at fault or the GPU. Yes, that's the frustrating thing about troubleshooting in general, is that one problem can present itself as another. I mean, I suppose that's also the sorts of problems that doctors face when they're troubleshooting our bodies. Because one disease or whatever can be presenting with the symptoms that perfectly line up with another, and so it's the same for PCs, in that if it is your motherboard that's on its way out, it can act like something that you know, it's effectively causing the CPU to fail, but it's not the CPU itself that is failing. So it can be tricky, but glad you got it sorted. I was watching good old Gamers Nexus's video that went up earlier today about the PS5 thermals. I thought that was quite interesting, especially because while I if you didn't hear, long story short, there's a slightly revised, non-published revision, but there is a slight revision to the PlayStation 5 console where the most recent production models have received a slightly different heatsink and cooler arrangement, on top of apparently an already existing variability in 3 different styles of fan that the system uses. The main difference that was initially talked about was that the newer version of the PS5 is a reasonable amount lighter, and most of that weight seems to have come from the heatsink array that cools the SoC, the CPU and the graphics card, or the graphics core, I suppose. Because the revised model is physically smaller, and it's while it is a different design, or it's a slightly different you know, shape and that sort of thing, it is a physically different, or a physically smaller and lighter, and therefore less thermal mass heatsink. I caught the very tail end of the Austin Evans drama, because, you know, tech drama is always fun. Where, again, bad summary, he made a video unboxing and disassembling one of those new PS5 models, and said that because the heatsink itself was getting hotter, as in using a thermal camera looking through, I think, the back of the console, he said because the heatsink is hotter, therefore it is a worse system, or a worse version, or it's a downgrade of the console. And while it is perfectly possible that the revised version runs the SoC a bit hotter, it's clearly functional, and there's also, let's say, a lot more to it. And he received some backlash for his video, because my understanding is it was a fairly, I suppose, not simple view, but like a picked a point and ran with it, rather than a thoroughly researched piece of content kind of thing. And so there are some more intricacies to it, like they've changed the memory cooling plates. Like the way that the PS5 is designed and cooled is kind of, it's not like a standard PC heatsink kind of thing, but yeah, effectively the plate that gets attached, I think it's an aluminium plate that is pressed or formed into shape. Instead of having just tiny little punch dots that are touching the you know, certain parts of memory modules, they have now inset the whole thing so that there is much better contact with the memory modules, and so generally speaking, the VRM, or the VRAM, or I suppose technically whole system RAM, since it just uses DDR6, 5. Anyway, those memory module temperatures are generally lower on the new model, while the SoC temp is generally slightly higher, but with, as far as I'm aware, no visible performance or really longevity difference, so in the end it doesn't really matter. Long story short, the methodology was flawed, and some people got the knickers over a twist that something doesn't matter. Yeah, pretty much. Is what I was trying to explain, but in slightly, quite a few more words. Mac, if I'm honest, so did I. I had a, I had a, I was maybe like 16, and I can't remember why, but I sent him an email just asking, probably for advice. What it wasn't, it couldn't have been that long after he changed from Duncan 33303 to Austin Evans. But I sent him an email, and for some reason he agreed to or asked if I wanted to have a Skype chat one night. So we did, and he was asking about my plans for the channel, what sort of content, and he was quite insistent that reviews wouldn't get me very far, which I suppose he's on millions of subscribers and I'm on under 100k still. But I kind of like it, and yeah, the sort of original and personality driven content is the king. But yeah, kind of weird. Hello Budget Bench, how you doing, man? Also hello Joe, how you doing? Hello, I'm not gonna say what the W Kerr, how you doing? Nice things. John, so good. I am what am I sipping on? It's just water. I only pretty much only drink water. Occasionally some fresh fruit juice, but that's it. Don't drink the alcohols. I don't drink the coffees or teas. I very rarely have any what we would call soft drinks or sodas if you're American. Yeah, not really. Yeah. What have I missed? Is the Asus ZenBook 1314 worth it for that price? So it kind of depends on your preference. For me, I do really like having multiple displays, and that is the only solution I've seen that doesn't involve clipping other displays onto your main one and having them just like fold out and take up way too much space. It's the only genuinely usable multi-screen laptop configuration that I've seen, and so if you value that additional what you call it, screen real estate, and the what's the word, like extra functionality that brings, then yes, that's I would say so. If not, then if you just think it looks cool or it's kind of fancy, but you wouldn't necessarily make full use of it, then yeah. Thank you. Got some of those new Moa batteries for the GH5 you recommended. Camera arrives next week. Nice. Excited, and that'll be cool to see. And there are just countless settings. You will probably want to spend a few hours, days, just playing with them all, because there's a lot of stuff to play with. Also, you should probably update the firmware. All you need to do is stick the file in stick an SD card in the camera, and format the SD card. and then stick the SD card in your PC, copy the file to the root of the SD card, stick the SD card back in the camera, press the playback button, and it will pop up with a little menu saying, do you want to update the firmware? You click yes, and then don't touch it, make sure the battery's full, and it'll be done. It'll be great. So I would recommend you do that. I finally did it after, God, far too long, and it added a load more settings. It added, I think, potentially slightly improved battery life. And not that I use it, but it also improved autofocus and a couple of... Oh, it improved the in-body stabilization as well. So yeah, I would recommend that if it doesn't already come full. Oh, right, of course. I'm thinking of the ZenBook Duo, not the 13 and 14. In that case, I haven't actually tested any of the standard ZenBook line, so that one I can't tell you. But if it's anything like the Duo models, then it's probably a fairly nice machine. And it's I don't know what if it is at a price premium compared to everything else in the market, but yeah, that should be decent. It's probably more expensive than I would want to pay, but I also wouldn't want to buy one myself anyway, so yeah. I have no PCIe slots, but I need more USB 3 ports. How can I fix this? If you need the bandwidth from more USB 3 ports, like if for some reason you have a load of devices for which you're using the full 5, 10, or technically 20 gigabits per second that USB 3 can offer, then in that case there isn't really a good solution, because you need more bandwidth to effectively to your CPU, and PCIe is generally the only way that you can add that after the fact. If you need just more USB ports, then a powered hub is where I would personally head for that. I actually have a number of powered hubs and they work fine, because the majority of devices that are connected to them are USB 2, and then occasionally I connect something that's that can utilize some extra bandwidth, but it's also the USB 2 devices don't soak up much bandwidth, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, it kind of depends on your use case. That's a good point. USB 3 headers on your motherboard, also a good check. Hello Chris, how you doing, man? Cleaning some dust with some PC inside. I assume you meant the other way around, but fair enough, nice. Nicole, what's better, a Ryzen 5900HX or an i9, i7, 11800H? So I haven't tested the 11800H. I've tested the 11900H, which if I what you call it? Come on, brain. If I remember rightly, it's a very, very similar chip, just runs slightly hotter and harder. But from my testing with it, which I actually just did a video, and you can go check that out on the channel. It's technically not the most recent video, because that was the mouse that went up on launch day earlier today, but yesterday's video, that one is exactly what you're looking for. But the long story short is that for gaming, the Intel chip I think is slightly faster. For both power consumption and therefore heat output and noise, and for productivity performance, the AMD chip is a much better proposition overall. For gaming, 1080p gaming at high settings, an RTX 3060 or a 6800M. So I should clarify, you're asking about the RTX 3060 laptop, which is a different GPU and a different core to a desktop RTX 3060, since you're asking about a 6800M rather than a RX 6800 or 6800 XT. With that said, I haven't tested, but I'm fairly certain that the 6800M is faster than a 3060 laptop. The only question would be what CPU gets paired with them. If the 6800M machine has, say, a significantly pared back CPU or RAM instead. But if it's fairly similar, then yeah. Alan, so Mac is right. If you don't have any more headers on the board or what do you call them? Not NVMe, PCIe slots available, then either hubs, which I would personally recommend powered hubs. It solves a lot of headaches, but that, which will give you more physical ports at the cost of bandwidth to each port, since it's splitting bandwidth rather than providing more. But that's your interim option, or the other option is you're going to have to upgrade to something else, depending on again what your use case is there. I have a question. Storage for it, what do you recommend? It's stating that I need to go for a certain type. I wonder if I could jerry-rig an SSD via USB-C on it or not. So while that may technically be possible, I don't think that I've ever tried to have it write to an external drive. The SD cards that I use are these SanDisk Extreme 90 meg ones. 128 gig, and I have two of them because the camera can record in either effectively RAID 0, well, RAID 1, or pretend that it's one drive and just write across, like write until this one's full, and then immediately swap over to the other one and write to that one as if it was all the same drive. Very cool feature. I don't use it all that much with 128 gigs of storage, but you know, it's there. And it's quite useful for me because I can have one in the camera filming while I have one out rendering footage. But the 90 megasecond is the fastest. It is fast enough that I've never had any problems recording anything from the 180 FPS 1080p to the 4K 30 that I use. I've even recorded 4K 60 without problem, and I'm pretty sure that's as high as it goes anyway. So yeah, I think you might technically run into problems with 90 megabytes. I should clarify, if you're recording 4K at whatever the stupid bitrate is, like 400 megabits per second and 10-bit and all that jazz, that might be. But yeah, for the majority of the recording that I do on it, those are perfectly fine. I mean, you can work it out. What's 400 megabits per second, right? So 400 megabits per second is 50 megabytes per second. So should be fine. There would likely be some overhead, but yeah. And I don't record all that highly. YouTube compresses everything down like crazy anyway, so I record at 100 and I render it to 30 H.264 at the moment, although I've been playing with the H.265, the HVC encoder on the camera, which records 72 instead of 100, which is already better. And then it means that I could render that 72 down to something in the order of like 15 or 20 and save even more space while still having the same final quality. So yeah, I would consider it. Can you record straight to laptop? As far as I'm aware, no. It will do HDMI output, but I don't think that you can have it output. I don't think you can plug in, say, via the USB-C port and have it act as your webcam directly. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But yeah. I updated my BIOS and everything's working. I updated it by updating it with each version because I was worried it would break. Got you. Right, well, I'm glad it's working. Have any of your heat issues been assisted at all? Are you looking forward to the release of 12th Gen Alder Lake? Have you seen some of the leaks about it? Sorry, I missed your question first. And two, I am looking forward to it. I'm very excited to see what, I suppose you might say, proper Intel 10nm. When I say proper, I mean the 11900H that I tested is actually a 10nm chip. It's the 10nm superfin rather than the 10nm enhanced superfin, which is now being renamed to Intel 7. Similar but not quite. But I'm interested to see what that looks like on a desktop side. Of course, the hybrid design dynamic is going to be interesting to see. And of course, that means that we'll have to use Windows 11 to test all those things, which means we'll have to test everything again. But yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'm looking forward to seeing it. As for leaks, I haven't seen all that many. Yeah. The 12700K is proposed to beat the 5950X. That'll be interesting. So the 12700K is what will that be? 8 plus 4? Is that right? Or is it like 8 plus 6? What's the... I can't remember what the configuration of that's meant to be. Windows 11 Epic. Nice. Is that because it looks like Ubuntu? You can record separately with an external monitor. Yes, you can use something on Atmos Ninja, but that's over HDMI rather than USB. But actually, you might be able to use, because it's... You might be, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. You might be able to use it as a webcam. But yeah. Office Nike, hello. Have you seen the Apple event? I saw the highlights from it, but I don't own a single Apple product, and I can't imagine that Apple will ever be sampling me anything. So I generally just follow along with Apple from a, inquisitive outsider perspective rather than a tech press perspective. Can you run a laptop 24/7 if it's properly cooled? Sure. The trouble is that laptops especially are designed to basically run as hot and as hard as they can, and then kind of stay there. The longevity and lifespan of especially a CPU that's kind of pinned at 80 to 90 degrees Celsius could be limited. It will depend on what you mean by 24/7. Like if you mean, mining on it or whatever, or doing, like having the CPU pinned 24/7, or do you just mean using it like for everything, as your main machine, um, all day, every day kind of thing? In which case, then that's much better, sort of much better for it. And that's a good point, actually. The battery may also be a point of failure, as if you're leaving the laptop plugged in, then what's essentially happening is the charger is keeping the battery at 100%, which is kind of the worst place to keep your battery, and so that will severely degrade the life of the battery. Instead, some do have, like it says, better battery management, so that they won't charge to 100% if you're leaving it for a long time, or they'll have it cycle the battery as you're using it purposefully. There's a lot of different things that they can do, but not all, or actually, in my experience, many actually do. Wait, you're not lining up to get the iPhone stove? I mean, 13. People get so excited in new iPhones, yet each time they look more identical and they make the camera stick out more. Yes, I mean, no, I'm not in that line, and yes, they kind of do. I can kind of understand it, but at the same time, it's not for me. I don't really follow the phone scene all that much anyway. I buy a new phone every 3 to 5 years. Whenever the battery in my current one dies and I've already replaced it twice, and the phone starts to fall apart because these aren't designed to be taken apart. So yeah, that's kind of it. So I start paying attention right as I'm considering buying a new one. I gather my information, make my purchase, and then I stop caring about phones again. So yeah. Will plugging my laptop in 24/7 affect the battery life cycle? Yes, essentially. It depends if the laptop has a what do you call it? Like we said, if it has some form of battery management where it won't charge itself to 100% while leaving it in, then yes. Otherwise, it will affect the battery. Will a Gigabyte H61 M-ATX motherboard support an RTX 2060? Hypothetically, yes. Practically, why? Mine are used during all day, but left on all the time. They're MSI. I know that's a swear word. It's all good. But they do have battery management. I remember seeing that actually. So, yes. If it's always plugged in 24/7, then take off the back panel and unplug the battery. That's also fair, as long as the charger is designed to provide 100% of the system's required power, then that is a valid solution, and then you can just plug the battery back in whenever you need to, use it again. But yeah. I used to be into the phone scene when I worked at Phones for You, but now I have a phone that works. As long as it's got a good camera and screen, I'm good. Not had an Apple in decades. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, kind of it really. I do quite like having multiple cameras. It is quite useful. Be able to zoom in or go wide. And yeah, I'm struggling to, beyond battery life. That's pretty much always the limiting factor. I'm struggling to see a need to upgrade. That's why I always get my mum laptops with removable batteries, and she removes it when the laptop's plugged in. Incidentally, I'm not too keen on laptops, especially the keyboards. Yeah, that's true, and fair enough. That's actually a pretty decent solution. I think my CPU got more hot because of the XMP profile, but I tried to lower it, and the voltage is lower now. But I have XMP on, voltage lower, and it helps. Cool, fair enough. That's understandable. Um, da, 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 do most Type-C ports support charging, or is it mostly varied? It it varies quite drastically. Some it normally is something that is labeled either physically on the device, or it's something that is something that you'll see, in the marketing blurb for your machine or for your laptop. It generally speaking, I wouldn't say that most Type-C ports support charging the laptop intrinsically. It's normally, especially on Windows laptops, it is a specific one, or not at all, or a very limited rate. Like, it might not be the full 100 watts that Type-C is rated for. It might be it will support charging laptop at 75 or 50 or 60 or whatever, whereas the standard charger might do 150, 200, 240, whatever watts, right? No worries, Joe. I'll catch you later. Hope to speak next week. Am I still making websites? I suppose technically. I still run locally links. And I've been writing some more features for as of late. So yeah. I have a capture card, and the fan is noisy. It's been replaced once before. Any ideas how to quiet it down without replacing it? It's a 30mm fan. So technically, you've got a couple of solutions. The I suppose crowd favorite would be, I'm fairly certain that Noctua sell tiny little fans like that. So you could buy a Noctua fan, and they are generally known to be, quiet and all that sort of stuff. So you can do that. The other option is to either add in, depending on how the fan's connected, you might have to cut the wires essentially, but add in a resistor to the power wire, assuming that it's not a 4-pin fan or a PWM fan, to lower the voltage of that fan. The catch being that then the capture card might overheat, so it's a trade-off between the potential risk and I suppose reward, if you like. Strix G15 versus the G17 and the RTX 3060. The G15 with the 6800M, like I said, I'm fairly certain is a good bit faster than a 3060 laptop. I had to resolder the fan. It's only a 2-pin. Got you. So if you unsolder the power lead and solder in a resistor in line, you'll be able to drop the voltage of that, the voltage going to the fan, and therefore you can have it run a little bit quieter. But like I said, you would need to be more careful with the what you call it? Come on, brain. Temperatures. Jesus. Solder in a potentiometer and have a speed dial. Yeah, that's true. That would indeed work. I wanted to show you before we head off. I posted on Twitter, but I made a thing. It's almost done, and I say almost because this is way closer than I expected to. It's open source response time tool. It's got a little sensor on the bottom. This is a little 3D printed case that I designed. It all comes apart quite nicely. The back slides off, and it's quite a tight fit, which is what I was aiming for. And inside is a custom designed PCB, along with, you know, the elastic that holds it to the monitor. But if I pull this out of the way a bit, there you go. So what this does is effectively takes your monitor changes different colors between shades of gray to gray transitions, and that little sensor captures the light output from your monitor and records the response time, how long your monitor takes to change its color. So it's technically not LDAT, that's for latency, although this could do latency. It would only take a required it would only take a sort of firmware update to this to support that, and it's something that I do want to do with it, but for now it's response time rather than latency. But yeah, that's that. Does it change between 50 shades of grey? It's only 11. That's all I could fit in, unfortunately. It's still quite a few shades of grey, but it's not quite the 50. You know, we would like to see. You know, the community would prefer. Oh dear. Castifer. So the colors on a monitor are something that you will want. In fact, I have one just over here. I can reach it. You will want something like this. This is technically an older one now. This is the Spider 5. They also do the Spider X, which is the slightly newer version, slightly faster, accurate one. But you want something like this to calibrate the monitor, and you'll be able to both calibrate the monitor's profile, but also then be able to see the different gamut coverage in the different in your different modes, different gamma settings, that sort of thing, and tweak it from there. But yeah, I also haven't had one of those in, so I can't tell you, I'm afraid. I can't tell you too much. What can I do with a Wi-Fi ESP32? So much, including controlling. They're sort of the perfect thing for doing smart home stuff. So yeah. Luca, bit scummy, but you could. Also, hello Rugby. I've had a very long conversation with him. Speaking about it, but he already has what is arguably a possibly better setup. So he said that I should send it to some other people. So I will be. I obviously the obvious one would be Linus, but I'm sending the first one I'm sending to anyone is to Simon at TFT Central, and he's going to help verify the results that it collects. Yeah. Anyway, that'll do for this week. Thank you guys very much for tuning in as always, and yeah, these are every Thursday night 8 PM UK time, so feel free to pop back next week. As Ish says, there's plenty of links in the doobly-doo, and yeah, you can all that jazz. Have a good and safe week, and I'll, well, yeah, see you next week. Bye, guys.